Hello, Money Queens and listeners. Welcome to Women Behind the Millions. Let's meet the women behind the millionaires, the women supporting, guiding, celebrating women with their wealth. You will hear from women millionaires, how they got there, what they wish they had known, what got them to be a millionaire, the emotional side, the spiritual side, the practical side of wealth. You'll also get to meet the women behind the scenes helping make it happen. Let's dive into Women Behind the Millions. I am Jessica Weaver, your host, best-selling author of 3 books, wealth advisor, and founder of the Women's Wealth Boutique. Let's start meeting the women. Hello, ladies. Welcome back to Women Behind the Millions, our season dedicated to the D word, divorce. It's a heavy subject. We've covered all things from dealing with a narcissist and being gaslighted to abusive relationships, resources if you are or loved ones in an abusive relationship, from litigating to mediating the divorce, all of that. And towards the end of the season, we are now coming through that journey of divorce, the legal side, the financial side, the emotional side, having therapists on here. But now it's leading into your new life post-divorce. And the biggest theme that I've found doing these interviews on our show with these professionals, these incredible women, all a part of our newest anthology book, Divorce Decoded, is this. The woman you are when you enter the divorce is not the woman you are when you leave the divorce. You have grown. You have become more resilient than ever, stronger than ever. Your confidence, the way you hold yourself is so different. And you've been through something that is very taxing on your body, on your emotions, on your mindset, your confidence. You feel vulnerable, you're insecure. But now you're coming into your new life. And that's what we're going to focus on tonight, in tonight's episode, Hell in the Hallway. This is the chapter title for our guest tonight, Hell in the Hallway. What does that even mean? We're going to get into it, ladies. But that limbo period, this is the toughest period I've witnessed as I'm helping women going through it, become indecisive. You just kind of stalled out. You put a pause and you're floundering in this in-between area. And you can't wait for it to be over, but you might also be procrastinating and delaying it being over as well. So coming into tonight's episode, this is an amazing Bible quote. I pray it over myself every single day and my family especially, and you'll understand why. No evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling. Right? That is a protection prayer the Bible gives us. So I'm giving it to you tonight to use. Dwelling. Tonight's episode is all about finding your new dwelling, your new sanctuary as a newly divorced woman. Now you're single. You might not have lived by yourself your entire life, maybe for the last 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And then to figure out what is it that I want in a home, what makes it a home, is a whole new venture for you. And that's what we're going to dive into tonight's episode. We're going to go house shopping, ladies. I always love, I look at Zillow almost every day. I just like to see what's going on in real estate and what's happening. I love watching the HGTV shows. So we're going to get into it tonight as well. And with that, I'm going to bring onto stage Donna Case, my co-host for this season. Hello, Donna. How are you tonight?
I am doing wonderful and so excited to be here.
You're looking fabulous as always.
Thank you.
What are you looking forward to in tonight's show?
I'm really excited and have to say a little turned on by the whole Hell in the Hallway thing that resonates so well because you're in this state of chaos and making huge life decisions. And literally that just is a perfect title. But that transition from being in the hallway of hell to having that new home that you literally can claim and make your own, that's a huge transition for women to go through during the divorce process. And I think hearing from Dru today on how we can get through that process is going to be very empowering to our readers.
Oh, amen. The chaos. And how many times, Donna, do we say, don't make a decision when you're emotional. And yet in a divorce, emotions are high and you have to make some of the biggest decisions out there. And that's why you've put together this beautiful book, Donna, with these amazing authors to give women those pillars of support during this. Let's talk about Divorce Decoded real quick as we introduce our guests for tonight. What was the pull for you to put together this amazing group of women and the newest anthology book at Pink Fix Productions, Divorce Decoded?
I was so excited to do this. It's been something that's on my mind for some time. The reality is there's all kinds of self-help books. There's all kinds of divorce books out there, but they typically will just talk about the legal process. They're not dealing with all of the aspects. So here we're pulling together our emotional well-being, how to take good care of ourselves and our family, going through the process, even from how do you decide which legal process to use, and then making the smart financial choices, the strong decisions. I mean, because think about like your house and your retirement accounts are typically your biggest assets. So walking through that path. And then two, on the flip end is how do we come out of this in a new position? How do we better position ourselves to experience and enjoy the world? That's what I thought everybody needed to have, not just a how to go through the divorce process, but all of the moving pieces.
Yes. Setting up your new life going forward, which is why I love tonight's guest. Let me introduce Dru Wimmershoff. She's a full-time realtor working with buyers and sellers primarily in Morris, Somerset, and Hunterdon counties here in New Jersey. She can work anywhere in New Jersey. She considers herself a partner and problem solver throughout each transaction with a focus on responsive, high-touch client services. She gets very involved and engaged with her clients as they're going through this. We're going to ask her, I would love to hear some stories of women who have gone through divorce to give some light at the end of the tunnel for these women on a very daunting task. Hey, Dru, welcome to Women Behind the Millions. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. Very exciting topic.
Oh, this is going to be great. We're going to go house shopping tonight. Tell us about Hell in the Hallway. Where did that come from?
Actually, it came directly from a client of mine. We were working she was in the middle of, she had just separated from her husband. She just left her home. And she connected with me actually through Instagram. She saw I was a realtor and reached out to me through Instagram. So we got talking, and at one point I was talking to her about what she was looking for and, tell me a little bit about your life and, where are you right now and how you're feeling in your head. And she said, it's hell in the hallway. And I said, wow, explain that, tell me a little bit about what that means. And she said, well, I walked out of the door to my home and my life, and I haven't yet found what I really want or where I'm going to go or what I even want to do with my life. And I'm sitting in this hallway right now, and it's just pure hell to be here, because I'm kind of in between two rooms of my life. And I just thought that was so, it just kind of put everything together in terms of a divorce in general, and particularly when you're talking about helping somebody get to their next place in life, their new sanctuary, if they're leaving the home. So Hell in the Hallway just resonated with me, and I thought that would kind of encapsulate it for a lot of people in that position.
As Donna said, the chaos in between, the turmoil, that limbo period of time, and it's like, tell me what's next. Tell me what I need to do to get to that next stage as well. Dru, how long have you been a realtor for, and what got you into real estate?
Well, like many people, COVID kind of came in like a freight train and upended my career. I was in marketing my whole life and very client-focused, client-oriented. I was working with, on the client side, towards the end of my career, but in the beginning of my career, I was always working with a variety of clients. So then I became the client myself, and I was director of marketing for a software company for about 7 years when COVID came along. And the minute that happened, I saw the writing on the wall that conferences, trade shows, things that I was very involved in were probably going to go by the wayside. So I said, I'm going to need a plan B here pretty quickly. And I gave a lot of thought to staying in corporate marketing for all the reasons of corporate comfort and benefits and salary and whatnot. But I decided to take a leap and do something I've always wanted to do, which was get involved with real estate. And at the time, I didn't know how crazy that leap was going to be from having a corporate career to becoming a commission salesperson. So this is about 3.5 years. I'm into it right now. And I absolutely, I love it. I love what I do. I wish I had done it many years ago because I find it fascinating to help people solve their problems in a very different way than I did before.
Oh, sure. And how much of your work is working with women who are finding that new home, that new sanctuary, leaving a relationship or a divorce?
It seems like more and more, actually. There are a lot of, and I know you had another guest on, Realtor, who talked about the sales side of things. I've been on more of the buy side of things. But, the gray divorce trend has definitely, turned up more women clients because women are leaving more than they were before. I think that the stigma of divorce has lessened to such a degree, and people are having different priorities when they're, in the 57 to 75-year-old time frame. They're the boomers. And so I work with a lot of women these days that are looking for a new sanctuary.
Sure. I was going to say, Donna and Drew, have you noticed since the pandemic and COVID, more women going forward with a divorce, asking for a divorce than before? I'm curious if that lockdown, that time period just made them reevaluate so many different things.
Well, speaking for myself, certainly I have seen more of that. I mean, I've only been doing this since COVID. So it's definitely something that I do see more. I see women primarily contacting me. And I think that all that togetherness was going to be great or terrible. But I think a lot of it also upended people financially. And, kids either moved in or moved out or whatever. And I think when there's a change in the family household, whether it's financially, with kids, or careers, people all of a sudden are both working from home, or someone's working from home who's never been around all day. And, it causes a lot of different stressors. So I do think that COVID kind of, may have bumped that up a little bit more than it was before. Donna, I don't know if that's been your experience as well, seeing the same.
Well, I will tell you that a really interesting thing is I had to pivot from doing in-person workshops specifically for divorcing women. Always held them in person, but we started doing Zoom. And I thought, nobody's going to show up for a Zoom divorce workshop during COVID when they're stuck at home with their spouses. But they literally, women's ingenuity presented itself well. People were in their cars watching on their iPads, locked in a room, separate from their spouse. The kids, and some of them had kids in laps, but it was a different. Definitely, I had 40 people attend my first virtual divorce workshop.
My goodness,
that was during COVID. So yes, I agree with you. The pace picked up, and I don't think it's gone down any.
I haven't seen it. No.
And you're right. Any disruption to that normal routine, as you said, Drew, causes turmoil as well. Yes, I can see that. What are some of the fears women are encountering? They're leaving the marital home and talking about gray divorce. So women who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s leaving, they've probably been there for decades.
Yeah. I mean, I have seen kind of a spectrum of people. The one woman who contacted me through Instagram, she was married 42 years. She got married when she was 18, I think. And so she had never lived on her own and was pretty terrified of the whole idea. She knew that she had to get out, but she had a big home, and we were starting to look. She was looking for a commercial property at first, and then she started to tell me a little bit more about her marriage, and she was leaving her marriage and she needed something, a condo. And she wasn't sure if it was going to, if she was going to divorce him, but she knew she had to be separated for a while. And that's what I see too. People aren't always sure, but they need to get out for a while, and a year, 6 months, whatever it's going to be. So her fear was being alone, which I think I don't always see. I mean, some women, I had a woman who her husband got to be with somebody from work, and she couldn't wait to be alone. So, you hear people that either they're terrified of being alone for the first time, or they can't wait to get away from their husband and actually be alone, for the first time. And, she was younger. The other woman was older. I've seen more women that are older, but, most of them have fear of finances. They've never done bills. They've never, really had to take care of a house themselves. And so there's fear associated with the idea of being alone, being in a new home, being in a place where now, they all of a sudden realize things that their husband may have done for them that they didn't, know before. And my one friend who was 42 years married, she goes, I never had to do any of this. I don't know how to do any of this. And so I tend to get very involved with my clients, obviously the ones that are open to that. And I'm a very empathetic person. So when she says, I don't know how to, my garage isn't working, the door, he would be here, he'd fix it. And I get my stuff and I go down there and to her condo, and I get on the ladder, and I'm in her garage, and I'm showing her how to do the remote control on the top, and you have to do this and that. She goes, how do you know how to do all this? And I said, I don't know, life, but I don't have somebody that, I'm married, but, I like to do things on my own. And people who are used to being taken care of really have a very interesting road ahead. Some of them look forward to it more than others, but, many times I thought she was just going to give up and go back home. But, I kind of talk her through her days when she's frustrated and not sure of what to do. And she's still there. So it's like 7 months now. So I've been there many times, and she's been here. And this is what happens. I really become friends with these people because I feel very connected to their journey. And I meet them as you had, said it at one point, you meet them as one person and you watch them evolve into somebody who's, very different and much better of a version of themselves. And it's very fulfilling.
Oh, sure. You're right. Trial and error, right? You just start to Google things. You YouTube them, you ask questions, you get a really good handyman.
It's so funny because I said to her, we don't need men anymore. We have YouTube. Don't worry about it. I will if you can't figure it out, I'll come down there. We'll YouTube it. We'll figure it out together. So
I have some laughing on the side. Back on this memory, but that little bit of confidence that she gets each time she accomplishes something on her own or with somebody like you.
It's true. Yeah.
Is huge. Donna, I know you had some questions too on making these big decisions and the impact on the finances as well.
Well, Dru, I'm really curious to know when somebody comes to you, they're in the divorce process or they're getting ready to divorce. How do you work with them to determine, whether or not it even makes sense for them to be doing, what they're offering, either buying their spouse out or selling the home and starting fresh? Do you get involved in that conversation? And then also, how do we deal with the value of the house? Because I know that's a big number when we're negotiating who gets what when we're dividing assets. So can you speak to that a bit?
Sure. So I always tell my clients I am not a divorce attorney, and I am not a real therapist. I'm a kind of a side therapist in my own way, but I don't really. I get involved kind of as an ancillary resource when it comes to should we keep the home, sell the home, how do we value the home? All of these things really come together when you're talking with your divorce professional, your financial advisor, your divorce attorney. I mean, those are conversations that happen kind of before me a little bit or simultaneously to me. I like to say that, when you look at a home and I know that it's an emotional attachment, but then you have to really determine what you can afford. It really sounds obvious and simple, but people don't know. Women many times don't know what they can afford on their own. So a lot of that has to do with whatever the agreement is, the settlement agreement and all of this. And again, I don't get involved with that so much. I come to people more when they say, I'm leaving, I need a condo, or I'm leaving, because many times the people I talk with are the ones doing the leaving. So they've already kind of established that they're not going to be able to stay, or they're going to be bought out, and now they have, a chunk of money that they have to go and spend somewhere else. So, and if they're in the middle, and they just want to leave, many times it's about finding a rental so they can get their heads squared away for a year or so before they even want to buy. They don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, if there's children involved, that's a very different home setting that we have to think about. But, I worked with a woman who was getting divorced, long-term marriage, and she had a cancer diagnosis when we just got started with each other. And it was really sad because she was, her husband left, and she was in this townhouse by herself, and she was just, physically very frail. And I sat with her, and we sat in every room in the house, and we talked about her things and what mattered most to her about, her life. And she wants to move out of state. So in her case, I had to work with, and her husband had already moved across the country. So in her case, I had to work with both lawyers, her husband's lawyer and her lawyer, because he was trying to run the show and say, you're going to use my real estate agent, all of this. And she said, no, I want to use, because she and I had a relationship prior, and she goes, I trust her. I want to use her. So she made a case to both attorneys as to why she should use me instead of somebody coming referred from California. And so in her case, I've been working with both sides. I have to work with both attorneys to talk about valuing the property, who's going to be packing what. She refuses to touch anything of her husband. She goes, he can come here and get it packed. I don't want to touch it or do it. And okay, we'll work it out. And I had resources for her to help her pack and clean out. And, literally every situation is different. And that's why I enjoy it, because everybody comes to me with a different set of issues and challenges.
Keeps it exciting, I'm sure, Dru.
Yeah, it's exciting. And, I really love to see people emerge from the process while I'm with them anyway, just stronger and better versions of themselves.
And I think the reality too is that, while they're making these decisions, going through the process, people really don't understand how impacted they're going to be by every little thing, from am I going to help pack his stuff or am I not? Everything, has an emotional impact on them. So it's
very true,
very vulnerable space to be in. And another comment that I was going to make as you were talking, Dru, was the importance of having a good team around you, because like if they're coming to you and they already know what they want, but they don't really understand what they can afford yet, we got to take a step back and really understand what they can afford. I wanted to share a quick story with you. I have someone who came to one of my divorce workshops before she actually filed for divorce, but she was very vulnerable because she didn't have control of any of the assets or money at all. So she couldn't afford to hire me. She felt like she couldn't afford to hire an attorney. She ended up getting divorced, and I literally just had a conversation with her a week ago. She's been divorced a year. She took every penny that she got from the divorce and used it to buy a new house. Now she has nothing but a home, and she's trying to figure out how to cut her expenses so that she can live on the meager income that she has. Now, had we had a conversation prior to her making a decision to put it all into the house, I mean, it could have looked totally different for her.
Yeah. I mean, I feel for people because I think sometimes they want to replace what they had, and sometimes they overdo it. I mean, how much do you really need when you're kind of moving out and you're going to be on your own? Or even if you have your children there, you don't need, sometimes I see these, people are leaving these 5,000 square foot homes, and their first, thought is, well, I want the same thing. Like, why should I take a hit in the way I live? I want to live a certain way. And, if they don't have the finances to do it, sometimes there's a happy medium. One of the women, the 42-year marriage, friend of mine, woman, she got a condo, and what she decided to do was, her home was the way many of our homes were back, 20 years ago. It was all the kind of more traditional furniture, the golds and the, all the Tuscan colors in the kitchen. And, she had all of that. And she said, you know what, this isn't my house. It's a rental, but I'm going to make it look completely different than anything I've ever had before, because I want this to be something that is totally new and unique to me now, so she bought all this contemporary white furniture. And I think her husband came by one day to give her something or whatever it was. And he's like, what is this? Like, what is this place? Like, this doesn't look anything like how you lived. And she goes, that's right. This is now my expression of myself. This is my new sanctuary. It doesn't have to have your approval, what it looks like, so she told me about that, and she felt so good about herself, and I said, this woman who never paid a bill in her life, I had to kind of help her set up auto pay and teach her how to do things. But all of a sudden she's paying her bills. She has a totally new designed home, that represents more of what she's all about, doesn't need approval from her husband. And, for as fearful as she was, she's now feeling like she can come home at night. And she told me at one point, she comes home and she can exhale. And rather than when she was walking into her home, when her and her husband were, constantly going at it, she'd go into her home, her chest would tighten, her jaw would get locked, and, she would be gripped. She said, now I come home at night and I can exhale and look around and feel like I'm in a very calm space. This is a sanctuary now. It's not a prison, type of thing.
That's beautiful. And you're right. It should be a healing environment for you, an expression of what's next to come. What's a place where you can breathe like that. Right. I have a friend going through a divorce, and like, if I go anywhere near where I used to live, that anxiety there's an onset of anxiety immediately.
Yeah.
So now we're playing around, like, where could you live? Like, you take that away. Where could you go? And she's like, am I a beach person? Am I more of a city? Do I want a big yard? And it's that exploratory space of getting curious of like, what's going to feed my soul right now and make it my own. And for, as you said, like, don't feel the rush to have to buy something, play around and rent for periods of time, and really see where you want to lay roots down as well. What works good for you, and to budget in. If you are, I'm allergic to grass. That's my big excuse. I can't cut the grass. I can't mow. I will break out in hives everywhere. My husband laughs at me. It's true. But you need to budget that in, right? Or a handyman or somebody to help with repairs, right? If you can do these things or haven't done them, renting is a way to play and budget and figure out what's an amount that I am comfortable in. I
actually, I did work with, speaking of cutting the grass, it's just a funny thing. I worked with a client who her children lived locally here where I am, and they were used to having a big yard. And now she had to sell the house. She and her husband were both leaving. And I wasn't involved in the sale. She goes, because if I suggest you, he will automatically say, forget it. It's your idea. I said, all right, we're not going to fight that battle. I will help you find your new place. Don't even concern yourself with all the other arguments. Choose your battles, so we'll go work on this together. So she said her children needed a space where they can go outside and feel good. So she didn't want a condo. She wanted to rent, but she didn't want a condo. So she wanted to find a place that would have a yard where her kids could still go outside and enjoy the environment, because that's what they were all about. And she didn't want to take that from them, So stars kind of lined up, and I found her a house on a farm property. And she was so happy. I mean, she worked from home. She really had to kind of reconfigure the inside, but the inside was less important to her than the outside. So she said, I can see my kids here. Like, I know they will love being on this farm. They'll love running through the fields, and they'll feel good about being here. So that's where we were able to find her sanctuary, someplace where she knew the inside's a little rough, but the outside is what's important to me, because I know my children will be happy here. So I found something, thankfully, that suited her needs, but made her feel happy, because she knew it was an environment where her children would feel good.
Oh, that's an amazing story. Yeah, space for them to go and explore. Right. We all know how healing the outdoors is, right? Just being in Mother Nature instantly can lift your mood.
With the cutting in the grass, she loves to cut the grass. It's like a thing of hers. She says she finds it very relaxing. So she said, please tell the landlord that I will cut the grass. If they have a tractor, like, I'll cut the grass if they want to take off some money in rent. But, they didn't go for that. They're like, sorry, tractor.
That's innovative, though. That's
like, I mean, it was just interesting, because she is like the complete opposite of the woman I put in the condo, with the contemporary furniture, and everybody has a different vision of what their happiness is going to be about. And that's why I find this work so interesting, challenging, and fulfilling, because I feel like I am really a part of helping them get to where they need to be.
Oh, that's amazing, Dru. Thank you for sharing that story. And all the stories on tonight's show, Women Behind the Millions. It's such important work, because they need to be able to have that space to move into this new stage of their life. Healing environment. They might be leaving a toxic relationship. They need to have that space for them. We're going to take a quick break. Do not leave, because Dru's going to share with us her divorce tip, the trend that she's witnessing, and we're going to dive into some more strategy on getting through hell in the hallway and into that new stage of your life.
At Pink Fix Production, your story matters. Your voice matters. You matter. It is a privilege to hear your story because of the truth behind it. But it also takes a courageous woman to be bold enough to tell their story, knowing some will judge you, but most, yes, most, will applaud you. We want you to step into being a thought leader and making change in this world, because let's face it, lady, you won't feel satisfied until you make your mark on the world. We accomplish this through several forms of media: podcasts, book publishing, magazines, TV shows, and events. We take you through our 5-step proven process to becoming a thought leader, from getting clarity over your mission, building confidence to use your voice, leveraging the media to declare your mission, aligning with strategic partners, and how to launch your legacy. Yes, we build a platform with you so you can ignite your revolution.
All right, ladies, we are back with Donna and Dru on tonight's episode, Hell in the Hallway, talking about finding your new sanctuary post-divorce, separation, right? Leaving that marital home. So many emotions that go into it as well. So we're heading into our segment of the show where you're going to share, Dru, with us your divorce tip strategy for women at this stage of their divorce, of their life.
Well, as I said earlier today, my tip is Again, it seems obvious, but get a handle on your finances. You may not have had a lot of exposure to your finances in the past, but going forward, more so than ever, you need a handle on your finances. You have to know what you have, not only for what you can afford to buy a home or to rent, but to live. I mean, if you don't have a good handle on your finances, then everything is going to seem more chaotic. So whatever your finances are, I can work with that. It's just a matter of you knowing what it is you have and what it is you can afford in order to live. And then we can plan for how to make that work for, your lifestyle. And it will always work. It can always work. That's my
setup for me.
Financial situation.
Thank you for that little nugget. And I would say go conservative, right? When you're looking on the numbers, don't take on too much, especially if this is your first time living alone, paying all the bills by yourself.
Right.
Maybe you're not even through the divorce yet, so you don't know exactly what alimony is going to be, what assets you're going to have.
Yeah, I mean, some people are living in that with that, kind of a temporary support arrangement where they don't know. And some people still, again, don't even know if their divorce is going to be final, if they go to mediation, how it's all going to work. But the key to what's common to all of it is knowing what you're going to have to live on, and getting a handle on your finances. And if you used to go for a massage 3 times a week, maybe that's going to have to be something that, you do once a month now. But think of the fact that you'll be a happier individual, and maybe you won't need the massage 3 times a week. I mean, you never know.
Good point, Drew. Yeah, you're not in that toxic, abusive relationship.
Exactly.
The stress, the pressure of it all mounting down on you as well. Donna, what would you say to a woman who's about to rent or buy their first place after being in a marriage for many years?
Well, I can't agree with Drew enough. It's amazing to me, working in the financial industry, how many people have no clue what it costs them to live. We just kind of go about our day to day and spend what we need to spend. But the reality is understanding what it's costing you to live the life that you are living will give you the information that you need to make appropriate adjustments. So we know that when you're married, whether it's a 2-income house or a 1-income house, you're now going to have 2 with the same amount of income. So life is going to look different. And if you've gone through and evaluated what your expenses are, now you're in a much more informed space. So it's not so overwhelming to make smart choices. And you can literally say, oh my gosh, I had no idea I was spending $500 a month on cable television. I'd rather only spend $100 a month so I can still do those massages every 3 a week or what have you. I think, the money, understanding the financial aspect, I think is the first step for most anybody. And this is true even if you're not divorcing, because we women, we outlive men. So every woman needs to be aware of her financial situation.
Very true.
Yes, good point, Donna. So understanding your expenses, how are they going to change during and post-divorce? And as you said, Donna, you're prioritizing. So if you do need those massages, whatever it is that's really important to you, then go for a lower price point on the house as well. Perfect, ladies. All right. How about any trends that you're noticing, Drew? We talked about a few earlier.
Yeah.
The great divorce, or women asking for the divorce. Again, I think that the biggest trend that I'm seeing now is the gray divorce, silver divorce, however you want to call it. It's the 57 to 75-year-old women that are seeing that they have this empty nest syndrome. They their priorities are shifting. They've been married for a long time. The kids are gone. They see, wow, I've invested all these years, raising my family and doing for everybody else. And now I feel a little bit like, what about me now? What about my time? And if your husband or your partner isn't on the same page, then you start to have other issues. You can have financial issues. You have,
your priorities may not line up anymore. And in that case, and knowing that there is this reduced stigma about divorcing, especially when you're older, I think women feel a little bit more free to actually leave a marriage. And actually, right now, the highest divorce rate that I was reading about was people that are between 25 and 39, which I found to be very interesting because they say if you marry between 20 and 25 years old, 60% of those couples get divorced. However, I know it was surprising to me. I mean, my first marriage, I got married when I was 23. I don't know what I was thinking. But somehow or another, if you get married after 25 years old, there is a much greater likelihood that you will stay in that marriage at least 10 years. So there are all kinds of statistics out there that could, drive you a little bit crazy. But I think that the biggest trend now is the older woman leaving, asking for the divorce.
I remember speaking with a divorce attorney, and she said, similar to the trend that the women are asking to leave, and it's more because they're just not fulfilled in that relationship.
No communication. Communication is so important. I mean, certainly in my job, I have to be a very good listener, and that's the biggest part of my job, I think, is listening to what people need, what they've been through, in order to know what how I can help them going forward. But women love to communicate, and men, I think as they get older, it's just not as important. They don't dig it as much as women. And after a while, it becomes an issue in many marriages.
Oh, sure. And what she said, the men know they'll never leave a marriage because they're unfulfilled. If they're leaving, it's because there's somebody waiting.
Yeah.
Somebody waiting. Yeah. They don't want to start doing their laundry and cooking and all those traditional roles in the household as well for it too. I would be curious, fast forwarding a little bit, as people are getting married later in life and more women want careers and are working through it. I bet that's going to change a lot of the divorce dynamics, right? Like the men, they're going to have to work to stay in the marriage for the women to want to stay. If they can be financially independent on their own, right? It really needs to be a good partnership then.
It's a new dynamic, I really feel, women and men and how a marriage works when two people are professionals, and they have to kind of meet on a similar plane. They have to have similar goals and be able to communicate about what those goals are. Communication doesn't matter how old you are. You have to be able to, prioritize that in a marriage to keep it going, keep it right.
Yes. Oh, very true. How about you, Donna? I know we've been talking about trends all season long. Gray divorce seems to be a big one. More women asking for them as well. What are the other trends that we've talked about this season? Building your team, more women asking for help.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. Is I think another shift is with divorce becoming more socially acceptable. Now more women are stepping up and giving voice to the fact that they want to divorce, where before they just would have, sucked it up and made do. That's something that I'm seeing a lot more of. And I do want to say this too, as we've been having this discussion today, I feel like everybody ought to be required to read one book, and that's The 4 Love Languages. I think the title's right. Are y'all familiar?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Heard the 4 agreements. But
Right. Yeah. So it's the learning how everybody communicates and how they like to receive information. I think that would help so much on the communication issues, because you may be providing me with all kinds of gifts, but that might not be my love language, right?
It's going through almost unnoticed. Great point, Donna. Yeah.
Very, very true. One of my clients had said, she went and she was living with her folks for a while. This is the older woman who was married young, so her parents are still in their 80s. And her mom kept saying, "Can't you just stay quiet and go home? Can't you just stay quiet? Like, he took such good care of you. Can't you stay quiet and go home?" And she said, I'm not you, Mom. Like, you've been married in you're 86 years old, whatever she is. And she said, you've been miserable because you stayed quiet. I stayed quiet for 40. I'm not going to do it for my next 30. Everybody talks about your last quarter. I'm going into my last quarter. I hear people say to me, I can't do it the same way anymore. I want my last quarter to be peaceful and happy, and I'm not in my marriage. And that's where leads to all, the rest of the discussion.
Yes. And you're right. As women are voicing it, there's more power behind it. And so they're not going to just let their family talk them into things. They're going to stand up for themselves more and more. And I would say, too, throwing in more education around abuse, narcissism, gaslighting has really empowered women to say this isn't the normal marriage dynamic.
A lot of social media and I do a lot of reading about narcissism because so many of my clients throw that word around all the time. So I've done a lot more reading about it. And of course, now my social media feed is filled with everything about narcissism, and all of it. It's great to educate yourself, particularly, when you have clients that want to talk about these topics. You have to know what they're talking about, but it's very prevalent.
It is. Oh, very true, Drew. This has been an amazing conversation. We could keep going on and on. But a lot of different trends. Women standing up for themselves, not settling for that last quarter, third stage of their life. More resources than ever for women and using their voice. It's huge, right? It's become a huge catalyst as well. So let's just talk about Divorce Decoded real quick. Let's do a quick promo video.
All right, Money Queens, introducing our newest anthology book at Pink Fix Productions, Divorce Decoded, a manifesto for women navigating divorce and beyond, coming fall of 2024. For more information or to purchase, go to pinkfixproductions.com.
All right, ladies. Well, we are ending up our show, Women Behind the Millions, and we have one more question for our guest tonight, Drew. Are you ready, Drew?
Yes.
What makes you a woman behind the millions?
You do, Jessica. You do, Donna. Really, it's a village going on here, and really, what makes me do what I do is my clients and watching a woman who I immediately talk to who is kind of coming apart at the seams, and then I watch her emerge as a strong, confident person who knows that she can handle far more than she thought she could when we first met. And that is what keeps me wanting to continue to do my job well, be the listener, be the empath, and really be a partner with my clients to help them get to their new sanctuary and be happy again in life. So that is what makes me happy. And I'm always happy to meet new people and new challenges.
Beautifully said, Drew. And to me, what makes the woman behind the millions is leading with your heart, right? Taking the pain into purpose, having a mission. Sarah Blakely talks about this a lot, founder of Spanx. And we're all grateful for Spanx, right? At some point in our life, we are grateful for Spanx. But it's like how to make money, your skill set. But that third missing piece that so many people don't acknowledge is that purpose, that mission, that being bigger than you, right? Being a value add to society, to community, to others is really, to me, what rounds out a woman behind the million. So thank you, Drew, for being one of them. Thank you, Donna, for being a huge advocate for women everywhere and being with me on this season of Women Behind the Millions. It's been such a pleasure going through the journey of divorce with all these incredible experts. Grab your copy of Divorce Decoded, coming fall 2024. We are almost there. You'll read Donna's chapter, Drew's chapter, every woman on this season of Women Behind the Millions. So thank you, ladies, so much for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Hey, Money Queens, looking to get your wealth to that next level, 7, 8, 9 figures? Follow us on Instagram at PinkFixMyMoney and at Women's Wealth Boutique for more millionaire money